Hey, are you ready for 10 reasons why you should not have to go to a voiceover conference? 10, only 10. Today marks the start of the One Voice Conference in Dallas, Texas. If you didn't know that, you must have been living under a big fat rock. For weeks now, my social media news tickers have been taken over by every presenter touting his or her spectacular presentations. Been there, done that, look. When you look at the lineup, there will be at least as many experts as participants this year. Be ready for a deluge of photos from the very same people as proof that they're really in Dallas with really good colleagues having a really good time. Oh, of course I'm joking. When I'm sarcastic, I love conferences. But come on, folks. You're just trying to give us a serious case of FOMO, right? But you know what? As someone who's sitting this one out, I have noticed. You shut up, okay? I'm talking. I have noticed that there are some pretty fabulous advantages to not going to a voiceover conference. I've got a heckler, especially since many have a virtual program you can watch in your PJs with a beverage in hand. Think of all the money you will save. A full in-person weekend at the One Voice Conference is $469, $469. Add a couple of paid workshops at $169 each, and you could end up spending close to $1,000. This is by no means the most expensive conference around. Remember, you're also paying for the hotel, the food, the drinks, as well as the travel. And speaking of travel, not going to a conference is much better for the environment. You may not like this, but flight shaming has become a social movement, a phenomenon. This movement discourages people from flying so as to lower carbon emissions and counter climate change. Don't think this is just a European thing. Flight shaming. Going to a conference also means you'll be tempted to sign up and pay for services and sessions with a special event discount. Just look at all the sponsors that want to get their money's worth. They're not just there to hand out cheap trinkets you're going to throw out as soon as you're home. Also not good for the planet. They're there to give their business a nice boost the minute you take out your credit card. But here's a bigger issue. If you're justifying the expense because you think investing in continuing education is always a good thing, consider this. I've attended quite a few voiceover conferences, and not only do I see the same presenters all the time, I usually see the same attendees who thus far are doing quite well, otherwise they wouldn't be able to afford this conference. Most of them don't need to learn more skills. They're already good at what they do behind the microphone. What they need is learn how to improve the way they do business and how they run their businesses. You know, things like marketing, being successful using social media, and those sessions tend to be the least popular at voiceover conferences. Ask any organizer. Most participants like to attend the fun stuff and see voiceover celebrities do their cartoon voices and hear stories about the good old days before AI messed everything up. If that's why you're coming, you might as well go to a Comic-Con, right? On a side note, at the last conference I attended, I quickly went from presentation to presentation to take a couple of pictures of the presenters. And I noticed that some of the VOVIPs spent 20 minutes out of a 50-minute presentation talking about all their credentials and accomplishments. And these are things that are actually printed in the program or can be found on their websites. But because they're big names, drawing big crowds, they get away with it. Let me put it bluntly. You know me. Those who could benefit most from these conferences can't afford to go or are incapable of recognizing their own incompetence. It's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. Look it up. Dunning-Kruger. Secondly, the voiceover universe is relatively small and not everyone feels comfortable being on stage during a presentation. Hence, you see the same presenters all the time. My recommendation to conference organizers would be to invite some outsiders to bring new topics and a fresh perspective. There's too much navel-gazing going on, people. Too much navel-gazing. Here's another reason why you shouldn't attend a voiceover conference. They can make shy and quiet people very uncomfortable. Compared to an on-camera acting, voice acting attracts more introverts because they can do their job in a safe, small studio all by themselves. If the thought of having to step into a crowd of loud-talking people you barely know gives you the jitters, why subject yourself to that? I suffer from misophonia and stimulus overload, At busy conferences, my brain doesn't know what to pay attention to. It literally tunes out to protect itself, which makes me look and sound like an idiot. And if I sound somewhat lucid when you talk to me, it means I'm working overtime to make sure that you don't notice how uncomfortable I really am. Yes, socializing can be fun, but it's also draining and frustrating. Why frustrating? Because there's never any time to have a longer conversation with anyone. Conference organizers think they have to jam-pack every minute of every day to give the participants value for money. It's a noble but counterproductive effort. Conversations tend to be short and shallow. "Oh, good to see you. How have you been? What are you up to? Oh, we must have dinner together tonight. Must run to the next presenter." By the way, dinner never happens. And this chit-chat is taking place while you're surrounded by hundreds of talking people. By the end of day one, your vocal cords are already close to being shot, and it will only get worse from there. And the effect will linger on for at least a week. Not exactly ideal if you're making a living using your voice, is it? Imagine you could be home, quietly working in your comfy voiceover studio, actually making some money, getting to bed at a decent hour. Instead, you're dragged to the obligatory late-night karaoke with an overpriced cocktail in your hand and very few loud and inebriated colleagues by your side. Fun times, right? Fun times. Good to see you. How have you been? What are you up to? Oh, we must have drinks together. Let's have drinks. And now that we're on the topic of health, COVID is on the rise again. Going to a mass gathering like a conference, where masking is voluntary, may not be such a good idea. According to the COVID tracker, Texas is currently number 2 on the list of states worst hit by the virus. And think about the time after the conference. If you've been to a few, you know this is familiar. A few months after the event, you spotted that glossy conference program in a stack of papers ready for recycling, and you're trying to remember something earth-shattering the keynote speaker said. And when you can't come up with something, you dig up your notebook with illuminating thoughts from the conference, and there it is on page 1. An amazing insight. It says, "Be authentic, be yourself, and believe that you can do it." What a revelation, people, what a revelation. Of course, I'm being silly and slightly sarcastic. Anyone who knows me knows I am a huge fan of these conferences in spite of all of the above. Every conference has given me so much more than what I put into it, and some have given me my career a new direction. Plus, I've made some very, very good friends. But let's be totally honest, a conference is not for everybody, and that's why there are smaller meetings, retreats, workouts, and individual sessions you can sign up for throughout the year. Now, if you're attending One Voice right now, I wish you lots and lots of learning, inspiration, and belly laughs. Yes, belly laughs. Make some amazing memories, okay?